Hi guys, Darth Deuce here, back with a different video today. I'm going to be doing a review of some DC Multiverse figures from McFarlane Toys. It's been a while since I reviewed the McFarlane Toys product. I just don't usually bother reviewing them, and honestly, lately I just haven't really been picking up a lot of them. Um, it's a line of figures I've decided to cut back on a lot and really only buy products of those McFarlane lines that I really want. And this one was one I was really interested in. This is the Batman versus Bane 2-pack from Nightfall, or based on Nightfall. Very exciting set. I think a lot of people are really much looking forward to this, especially if you missed out on the previous Bane mega figure. You have the chance to get it again. A bit different this time, of course, but it's still very similar. They're both just a retool, repaint of that first mega figure. But yeah, I really wanted to get this because, well, obviously, iconic battle between the two characters in the comics being recreated as action figures. And also, just Bane's one of my favorite, or not one of, he is my favorite Batman villain. And this version just looked really cool. I'm a big fan of the Mega Fig, the first Mega Fig, so I wanted to check this one out as well. And yeah, this set actually impressed me quite a bit. It's doing some pretty cool things. I know that there are some single release figures and whatnot who have also done similar things. I haven't gotten them yet, so this is my first foray into some of the stuff that McFarlane Toys is starting to do with their figures, which I think is pretty cool for maybe the future of domestic action figure lines. But let's first take a look at the Batman figure, which is mostly a repaint of the previous versions, single release versions of Nightfall Batman. I think there's a blue version and a black costume version. But this one does have some different things going for it. One of them is the head sculpt. He's got this gritted teeth, getting his back broken kind of head sculpt going on. And I've seen a lot of people kind of critique this face, and I get where they're coming at. The mouth, the bloodied mouth with the way the lips and the teeth are done, it's a little odd looking. I will say it looks much better in person, in my opinion. I know some people thought they didn't even sculpt detail, they just printed it on a flat face when they saw some initial pictures. No, there is a lot of actual sculpted detail. It is hard to tell, but it does actually, I think it does look pretty good. The blood doesn't look too lame looking or anything like that. Yeah, it's not bad, honestly. You will see throughout this figure and the Bane figure, they decided to add this sort of shading to the figure where it kind of looked like they're kind of going for a cell shaded look to kind of make it look like they popped out of the comic book pages. But then it's done in such a way where it feels like it's kind of a half measure. Like they wanted to go for cell shaded, but they didn't fully commit. So then it's like a combination of cell shaded and like normal McFarlane Toys detail. It's not awful looking, but it is a little odd at the same time. On Batman's head sculpt here, they like went really heavy with the shading around his eyes. I think the white for the eyes looks really good, but the shading's just like really dark. I don't really know why they did that. It does look a little weird. And then they did like this shading around the jawline, which I think also doesn't look the best, if I'm being honest. I do like the shade of blue though, this light shade of blue. I really don't have like any Batman figures that, or I have one other, technically not Bruce Wayne. I have the Azrael Batman armor where he has this kind of light blue, but this is my only other like normal like looking Batman that has the light blue, so that's nice. But you'll also see like he has a bunch of battle damage, like cuts in out of his costume. These are just printed details; they're not sculpted, which obviously they did to save on making a whole new molded body. But from a distance, it looks decent. But when you get up close, it's pretty obvious. Obviously, it's that it's a printed detail, and it doesn't look super good. It's okay. But then on like the torso, whatever, you'll see all this shading. I like the sculpted detail and like the sculpt of like the fabric of the outfit going over his musculature and his body. The bat symbol is super clean. Really like that. But yeah, the cuts and the damage, whatnot, it's okay. And the random shading is decent, but it's like you have like shading on the front of the torso, and there's like nothing at all on the back. It's just kind of odd. But one thing that's super cool that you've already seen is that this figure not only has a soft goods cape, but it is a wired cape, which I think is pretty crazy, honestly, for domestic mass retail North American action figure to have a wired cape. And not only a wired cape, it's a pretty friggin' good one too. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's close to like import quality. Like, I have like $100 figures, imports to have comparable quality capes. Which I think is pretty crazy. Like, you can see, I got it kind of sculpted to kind of look like it's going off to the side in the wind or whatever. You can, do all kind of which way with it, of course. I'm just like messing around to see what you can show you what you can do, but it's really sturdy wires. Like, the wires are quite strong. I like that it has the black on the inside and then the shiny blue on the outside, and it's made of a very like sturdy material. It's not like normal, like if you're familiar with Black Series figures, it's not like that thin fabric that you can see through. You can't see through this at all. It's very smooth. I don't know how to explain it. They kind of try to make it simulate like what his cape would actually be made of, like a leather or whatever. It's not leather, obviously. I don't know. It's almost kind of like, yeah, I don't know how to explain what this material. It's just a tough, smooth material, sturdy material, and I think it looks pretty nice. I like it a lot, and like I said, the wired and just having a wired cape on a domestic retail figure. I know this is an exclusive set, but still, it's being sold at like GameStop and whatnot and Amazon. So just having that on these figures, I think it's super cool. And I do know there's other single release normal mainline figures that are getting soft goods capes, wired capes. I think it's quite the leap in for figure releases in North America. I do wonder if other companies will start following suit or not on that. It's pretty cool though. But then you get the gloves with the little bat wings there on the side. Looks good. The belt looks nice. It does have some shading there, which can be hard to miss a bit. But it's on there on the front, but like I said, not on the back at all. The trunks look good. Boots, not too much else to say. In terms of articulation, it's got a dumbbell joint in the neck. You can actually look up a decent amount. Looks down just a little bit. Pivots quite well. Rotation. It's got that McFarlane style kind of butterfly joint where you can kind of shift it, wiggle it around. On mine, my shoulder, especially on the right side, is decently loose. It's not like so floppy where it's going to flop all over the place, but it is like maybe a little looser than I'd like it to be. But it does kind of move all around. And you do have a hinge joint there, so you can get it out about that far, bend it all the way down. A swivel cut at the bicep, double hinges at the elbows that move all the way in, which is really good. And then you've got the McFarlane style wrist joints that can go up and down, or if you rotate it, can go in and out, and do let you rotate at the wrist as well. Torso cut, and also a joint at the just underneath the belt piece, so you get actually an okay crunch, a decent amount of arch in the back, which is kind of important for this figure. And then you do get pivot, a decent amount of pivot, and you get rotation, so that works out pretty good. Hip joints, they move out about that far. The trunks are made of that softer plastic rubbery material, so they will kind of bend to what you need them, how you need them to. They go back just a bit. You can pretty much do a full splits, pretty damn close. There is that McFarlane style rotation joint in there, so you can kind of rotate the leg just a bit. Double hinges at the knees. Kick a pretty good amount. I will say these knee joints I feel are a little ugly looking. I feel like maybe they could have engineered or sculpted those a little better, but that's not a big deal. Then you have a rotation at the ankle, up and down hinge. There is a rocker there for a pivot, which actually moves quite well. And then you also have a toe bend that goes like a full 90. So a lot of really great articulation here. You can get this figure in a lot of really good posing. I can put him in a pose real quick. Just a quick and dirty pose, and I'm not gonna try to do anything too fancy here, but he does pose real nicely. And that cape just helps so much with adding to the dynamicness of your poses. It's not perfect by any means, but yeah, it's just really great to see. In terms of accessories, well, I guess just for the set itself, you do get your trading card. Instead of giving you one for each character, it's just one for the set. You get the artwork of Bane breaking Batman's back there. You get a little right up there. It's worded really weirdly. It says Bane pummels him ruthlessly while breaking Wayne's back over his knee inside the Batcave below the manor, breaking Batman's back. It's this. It says he broke his back twice, like he didn't get the first time. Yeah, a little. The writing is a little odd here, but still, nice that they're still kind of doing the tradition of the cards. Each figure also does come with the standard disc display base that they've been doing since they started the line. Then Batman specifically, he comes with 3 sets of hands. We have the closed punching fists on him on the figure right now. You also get a pair of these really open dynamic hands, which I'm going to call the hands you're probably going to use when he's getting his back broken, open and pain. But you can use them for other things too. For whatever reason, this set of hands specifically are pretty tight to put on the peg. The other 2 sets, no problem, but these ones are tight for some reason. I don't know why. But in the other 2 hands, you do get a pair of standard gripping hands. And then for those gripping hands, you do get a little batarang. It's just molded in this blue plastic. Pretty simple design. But the gripping hands, you can give them to hold it. So you can use the batarang if you want. That's all for that. Pretty decent for accessories. I do kind of wish they would have included an interchangeable head sculpt where maybe he had just a more stoic expression. He didn't have the gritted teeth and the blood everywhere, so you could maybe kind of sort of use this as a normal Batman. I know there's nothing you can do about the cuts in the costume, but maybe an interchangeable head would have been nice, but not a big deal. Still pretty cool. So now we'll take a look at Bane, and I was already a big fan of the Mega Fig from the previous year. I think it was last year. I don't think it was 2 years ago. And I mean, this figure is still an absolute beast. It's a pretty decent size. You've already seen him with Batman. He's fairly taller than him, definitely a lot bulkier than him, has a decent amount of heft to him. He's not hollow or anything like that. And yeah, he looks really good. As you can see, like I said with Batman, you do have that shading. The costume is, for the most part, black, but you do have these blue shading that they added. And it looks okay. I think the shading is executed a bit better on Bane than it is on Batman. But again, it's kind of like a half measure. They kind of put the shading on the costume fabric bits, but then they didn't do like comic book shading on the actual like skin, where his skin is showing. So it's just a little kind of weird amalgamation of 2 designs or 2 styles. But I do still like it. It does, if they didn't put the shading, it would just be straight black, and it wouldn't look quite as interesting, I guess. So I'm okay with that. But getting him in a bit closer, he does have a new head sculpt to better reflect how his more classic mask looked in the comic of which he is being based on. He's got the much larger, more rectangular red eyes there with the white front face and whatnot, a bit thinner around the eyes. But I think it looks really nice. I'm a pretty big fan of that. Looks good. It does have a new hose piece. They've done away with the more modern looking harness and the Venom tank, and he just has the attached to the back of his head, and then the silver painted like metal, it's not metal, it's plastic, but metal cable that goes to the device on the forearm there. Some nice sculpt detail on the back of the head with the little mini cables. This is made of a pretty pliable material, so it shouldn't have too much issue with like breakage or anything like that. And this is a new sculpt. This is different from the first release. And then this bit here is also new. I don't know if they resculpted the entire upper arm, but they at least, they must have. It's hard to tell. They might just remolded this bit. It's hard to say. Then you got the gauntlet there and some nice detail on the hands. The blue gets a little messy here and there. It's bleeding a little bit onto the skin tone. The paint's clean for the most part, but you do kind of have a little bit of that going on. They did paint or print on body hair on around his neck and on his shoulders, because that is something that was in the comic. From a distance, it looks pretty decent, but when you get closer, I find when you don't have the sculpted in detail of the hair, it kind of just like looks like random lines they print on the figure. And when you get closer, it's not terrible or anything like that, but when you're closer, it definitely looks a little more odd. But from a distance, it looks fine. And it's mostly on the top of his shoulder, on the back of his neck anyways, so, and shoulders, so. The skin tone itself, it's a little hard to tell on camera, but he does have a decently subtle little wash to bring out the sculpted detail of the musculature and the skin and whatnot, which I think looks pretty nice. The veins and everything look real good. There's the back there. The outfit is sculpted pretty nicely. He does have a new sculpted, I think, yeah, just the belt. He's a new sculpted belt piece. It is similar to the first figure, but it is different. And then I think the legs are completely just repainted from the first figure, but that is okay because I think they work perfectly fine. Not too much else to say. In terms of articulation, he's got a dumbbell joint at the neck. He looks up just a little bit. Looks down a fair amount though. Pivots a decent amount. Rotation. You can only move it so far this way until you're going to start pulling on the cable. You're going to want to be careful with that, but you can go a lot farther that way. You do kind of, not really a butterfly joint, just the way it sockets into the torso gives you a little bit of shifting movement there. But you do have a hinge. You can move it all the way about 90 to his shoulders there. You move it all the way down, which is good. No swivel at the bicep. He does have a single hinge at the knee, at the elbow, and then it does rotate at the elbow. It doesn't go a full 90 degrees. I don't think either of them do. The one on the left side comes pretty close to 90. The one on the right doesn't bend quite as far. But it's not too bad. I still am able to get a decent amount of the poses that I want out of the figure. And then you have a swivel at the wrist with a hinge in and out. And then torso joint underneath the belt there actually goes pretty far back. Only a little, not really much forward though. It does pivot a little bit and then allows for rotation. And you got your standard McFarlane hip joints. It goes pretty much all the way out, decently back. Of course, the classic McFarlane diaper piece is rubbery, so it does get out of the way. There is a little bit of, or a decent amount of rotation there at kind of the thigh. Then you have a double hinge at the knees, which can kick his own ass. It goes really far back. No boot swivel or anything, but he does have a hinge at the ankle. You move the ankle pretty far, foot pretty far up, pretty far down. There is a rocker for pivot, and he does have a toe bend that goes like a full 90. So pretty decent articulation. A little more limited than a lot of the standard McFarlane figures because of the way they sculpted the arms and whatnot, but it's pretty good. I'm able to get most of the poses that I want to get out of the figure anyways. In terms of accessories, like I said, he comes with the display base, but a major improvement that he has over the original figure is that he does come with interchangeable closed fist hands. The first Mega Fig from last year only had the open hands. That was my biggest complaint with that figure. It just limits the figure from so many poses and playability in my opinion. But here, let me just do this off camera, it's just easier. You can pop the open hands off if you don't want him breaking Batman's back right now, just want to fight him normally. For some reason, the left one's a bit easier to interchange than the right one. But you can put the fists on, and there we go. And that looks real nice. What the original Mega Fig should have had. So that opens up a lot more possibilities for posability and having action poses with your Batman or whoever you want. You can actually have them doing proper punching and whatnot, which is great. And let's do a quick pose. Show you what he can do a little bit. Nothing too crazy here, but there's a decent pose you can get Bane into. So there you go. I guess lastly, we'll do a comparison. I'm not going to make comparisons for Batman because I don't have any of the other Nightfall Batmans, and I don't see much point in comparing him to anything else. But I will compare this Bane to the new Bane. So here is the new Bane, and here is the first Mega Fig Bane from last year. And you can see, based most of the same figure, of course, but a decent amount of differences, mainly with paint. But as you can see, the belts are different. Originally, I thought it was just painted a bit differently, but they are different sculpts. Um, this one obviously doesn't have the more modern sort of military-esque harness, and then it doesn't have the 3 cables with the Venom tank on the back. I do kind of prefer that look, to be honest. But there's that. You can tell the masks are definitely different. He's got more kind of surface detail on the old one and got smaller eyes that are a bit more recessed in there and a bit more modern looking, I guess. And then you got like the green for the Venom, which I do like how you have those little flashes of green there. And then you can see he doesn't have the hair printed on. And then they also have 2 different skin tones. This one's a lot tanner. This one's much paler, actually, which I think is accurate to the comic, that being that light, his complexion being that light. But yeah, not too much else to say. So I don't know why, but for some reason, well, no. I was gonna say the old one felt a little stiffer to pose, but no, I just haven't messed with it in a while. I'm misremembering. But yeah, the 2 pretty good. Which one I prefer over the other, it's hard to say. I don't know. This one definitely has the advantage with having the accessories of the interchangeable hands. I will say, I think I do prefer the look of the old one, the Megafig. I just prefer the modern look a bit more. But they're both really, really cool looking, so can't really go wrong. That is pretty much it. Overall, I think this is a really awesome set from McFarlane Toys for the DC Multiverse line. I think if you're a Batman fan, and specifically if you're a fan of Nightfall and Bane as well, kind of feels like a must-get kind of set if you can get your hands on it. I got mine from GameStop Canada. I put a pre-order in. It sold out pretty quick, so I don't know how easy it's going to be to actually find in stores, to be honest, and that might be a bit unfortunate. It might be a bit harder to find. I'm not sure. But the Batman's pretty nice. The Bane's really cool. If you didn't get the previous Megafig, then definitely recommend as well if you want a good comic Bane figure. And if you're trying to decide between the 2, like I said, I prefer the look. Kind of up to you. If you prefer the modern, a little more modern look, maybe go the Megafig. If you want the more comic styled look, go with the 2-pack. From a current price perspective, I gotta recommend the 2-pack. The Megafig actually kind of goes for a fair amount on the aftermarket right now, and for probably less than you'd pay for the Megafig if you can find the 2-pack at retail. You're gonna pay less for 2 figures, and technically a superior version of the Bane because you get the interchangeable hands. So yeah, it's kind of up to you though. Overall though, I really like this set a lot. It really impressed me, and I highly recommend it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you all next video.